In our world, we are obsessed with one question: how do you make $1 billion? We study the habits of visionaries, we analyze their market strategies, we deconstruct their success. It is the ultimate financial quest, but we rarely, if ever, ask the opposite question. A question that is, perhaps even more important: how do you lose $1 billion? Because history is littered with the ghosts of fortunes that were once thought to be eternal. Empires of wealth so vast they rivaled entire nations that have vanished into dust. This isn't just about bad luck. The process of losing $1 billion is a masterclass in hubris, ignorance, and human nature. Today, we dissect the anatomy of financial ruin using two of the most spectacular cautionary tales in history: the slow, century-long decay of an American dynasty and the lightning-fast implosion of a modern titan. Our first story begins in the 19th century with a name synonymous with American wealth: Vanderbilt. The patriarch Cornelius the Commodore Vanderbilt was a titan of industry. Starting with a single ferry boat, he built a colossal empire of shipping and railroads. By the time of his death in 1877, his fortune was estimated at over $100 million. To put that in perspective, he possessed more money than the entire US Treasury at the time. In today's money, he would be one of the wealthiest individuals in human history. His son, William Henry, was a shrewd businessman himself and managed to double the family fortune to nearly $200 million. The Vanderbilt Dynasty seemed invincible, destined to rule America's elite for centuries. And then, the third generation inherited the money. What followed was not a business strategy, but a spending contest. The Vanderbilts of the Gilded Age engaged in a rivalry of extravagance, building colossal mansions they called summer cottages in Newport, Rhode Island and Fifth Avenue, New York. They threw parties that cost millions in today's money and lived a life of unimaginable opulence. So how did it all disappear? It was a perfect storm of wealth destruction. First, the relentless lifestyle inflation, where each generation felt compelled to outspend the last. Second, the fortune was divided among an ever-increasing number of heirs, splintering the empire into smaller and smaller pieces. But the most critical failure was a lack of financial education. The younger Vanderbilts were taught how to spend money, not how to preserve or grow it. They saw the fortune as an infinite wellspring, failing to understand the businesses that created it. The final blow came with the Great Depression and changing times. The railroad empire crumbled, and the family's lavish lifestyle could no longer be sustained. The decline was slow, but total. By the 1970s, the Vanderbilt family held a reunion with over 100 descendants. At that reunion, there was not a single millionaire among them. In less than a century, one of the greatest fortunes ever assembled had completely vanished. Our second story is not one of slow decay, but of a catastrophic high-speed collapse. Meet Eike Batista. In 2012, this Brazilian mining and oil magnate was the 7th richest man in the world, with a fortune of over $30 billion. He was a national hero in Brazil, a symbol of its booming economy. He publicly declared that he would soon become the world's richest man. Batista's empire was a conglomerate of startup companies in oil, gas, and mining, all branded with the letter X to signify the multiplication of wealth. He was a master salesman, raising billions from investors by selling them a dream of Brazil's limitless natural resources. But here was the fatal flaw: his empire was built not on profits, but on promises. His companies were valued in the billions, based on optimistic projections of future oil discoveries and mining outputs, long before a single barrel of oil was commercially produced. He took on massive debt to fund his ambitious projects, all while living a lavish lifestyle fit for a king. And then, the dream collapsed. In 2013, his flagship oil company, OGX, announced that its wells were mostly duds and would not produce the promised amount of oil. It was the pin that burst the entire bubble. Investor confidence evaporated overnight. Stock prices of all his ex-companies plummeted by over 90%. A crisis of trust began, and the empire, built on hype and leverage, crumbled like a house of cards. In less than 2 years, Eike Batista's fortune of over $30 billion was completely wiped out. He went from being the 7th richest man in the world to having a negative net worth. It was one of the fastest and most brutal destructions of wealth in modern history. These two stories, separated by a century, teach us three timeless rules for preserving wealth. Rule number 1, fear lifestyle inflation. The Vanderbilts proved that no matter how large a fortune is, it can be spent into oblivion. True wealth is maintained by living below your means. Rule number 2, never confuse promises with profits. Eike Batista's story shows the danger of building a business on hype and debt. A real asset must generate real cash flow. And the most important rule, number 3, educate the next generation. The greatest failure of the Vanderbilts was not teaching their children to be stewards of the family's wealth. Making $1 billion is a monumental achievement, but keeping it is a different game entirely. It requires discipline, wisdom, and a deep understanding that a great fortune is not an eternal bonfire, but a carefully guarded flame meant to be passed through the generations. Forgetting that is the surest way to lose it all. Which story shocked you more, the 100-year decay or the 2-year collapse? Let us know in the comments. And for more cautionary tales from the world of the 1%, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.